The stars looked different out here. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Frontier, watching the endless black space through the main window. They had traveled farther from Earth than any human before them. 6 months of flying through space, and now they were close to something amazing. "Captain, I'm getting something on the radio," said Lisa Turner. She was the ship's communication officer, a young woman with short brown hair who was very good at her job. She wore the blue uniform of the Earth Space Force and had been listening to space for strange signals all day. Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of something, Lisa?" "It's not natural, sir. These are made signals. Someone is talking out there." Lisa's voice was excited but also nervous. They had all hoped to find other life in space, but now that it might be real, everyone felt scared and excited at the same time. Dr. Peter Kane looked up from his science station. He was an older man with gray hair who knew more about space than almost anyone on Earth. "Captain, if Lisa is right, this could be the most important day in human history." Jake nodded. "Put it on the main speakers, Lisa. Let's all hear what we're dealing with." Strange sounds filled the bridge. It was not like any language humans had ever heard. The sounds were sharp and quick, almost like music, but different. Everyone on the bridge stopped what they were doing to listen. "Can you figure out where it's coming from?" Jake asked. Lisa worked at her controls. "Yes, sir. It's coming from the third planet in this system, the one that looks like it might have water." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "Dr. Kane, what do you think?" "I think we need to be very careful, Captain. We don't know if they are friendly or not, but we also can't just fly away. This is too important." Jake thought for a moment. He had trained for this day, but now that it was here, everything felt different. "Lisa, can you send a simple message back to them? Something that shows we come in peace." "I can try, sir." Lisa began working on a message. She sent numbers and simple pictures that would show humans were smart but friendly. For 2 hours, they waited. The bridge was very quiet except for the sound of the ship's engines. Then Lisa's radio came to life. "Captain, they're answering back," Lisa said. "And sir, I think they understand our language." A voice came through the speakers. It was strange and hard to understand, but it was definitely speaking English. "Small ship from unknown world. You will stop and identify yourselves." Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth ship USS Frontier. We come from the planet Earth. We come in peace and hope to talk with you." There was a long pause, then the voice came back, but now it sounded different, less friendly. "Earth ship, you are in the space that belongs to the Zelkari Empire. You do not belong here. You will leave now or face the consequences." Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper stepped forward. He was Jake's second in command, a tall man who was good at talking to people. "Captain, let me try to talk to them. Maybe I can make them understand we're not here to cause trouble." Jake nodded. "Go ahead, Alex." Alex spoke into the radio. "Zelkari Empire, this is Lieutenant Commander Harper. We did not know this space belonged to anyone. We are explorers from Earth. We're looking for new friends among the stars. We don't want to fight anyone. We just want to learn about the universe." The answer came back quickly and was not friendly at all. "Earth humans, we have scanned your ship. Your technology is very old and simple. You are weak. The Zelkari Empire has ruled this part of space for thousands of years. We do not need weak friends." Dr. Kane looked worried. "Captain, they're not trying to understand us. They think we're not important because our ship is not as advanced as theirs." Jake felt angry but tried to stay calm. "Zelkari Empire space is big enough for everyone. We're not here to take anything from you. We just want to explore and learn. Surely there's room for all of us out here." This time the pause was longer. When the voice came back, it was cold and mean. "Earthship, you do not understand. Space belongs to the strong. You are weak. We will show you what happens to weak species who do not know their place." Lisa looked scared. "Captain, I'm reading multiple ships coming toward us. Big ones." Jake's training took over. "Battle stations. Everyone to your emergency positions." The crew moved quickly, but Jake knew they were in trouble. The USS Frontier was built for exploring, not fighting. They had some weapons, but not many. Dr. Kane was looking at his instruments. "Captain, I count 5 ships coming at us. Each one is 3 times bigger than our ship." Through the main window, Jake could see lights approaching. They were moving fast, and in a formation that meant they knew how to fight. The radio crackled. Again. "Earthship. This is Commander Vexthul of the Zelkari Empire. Your species will learn that the galaxy belongs to the strong. We will destroy your ship. Then we will go to your world and show all humans what happens when weak species try to fly among the stars." Jake grabbed the radio. "Commander Vexthul, we surrender. We'll leave your space right now. Just let my crew live." Too late, human. The lesson must be taught. The first energy blast hit the USS Frontier's shields. The whole ship shook, and lights went out all over the bridge. Lisa was trying to send a message back to Earth, but the ship's communication system was badly damaged. "Captain," Alex shouted over the noise, "shields are failing. We can't take much more of this." Jake knew they were going to die, but he had one last job to do. "Lisa, did you get that message to Earth?" "Yes, sir. I told them what happened here. I told them about the Zelkari Empire and what they said about coming to Earth." Another blast hit the ship. This time Jake could smell smoke and hear alarms everywhere. Dr. Kane looked at Jake with sad eyes. "Captain, it's been an honor to serve with you." Jake nodded. "The honor was mine, Doctor. All of you have been the best crew a captain could ask for." The final blast tore through the USS Frontier. In the last seconds, Jake thought about Earth and hoped that someone would remember what happened here. He hoped that humanity would be ready if the Zelkari Empire ever came to Earth. The ship exploded in a bright flash of light. Commander Vexthul watched from his ship and felt satisfied. The weak humans had been destroyed, and now other species would know not to challenge the Zelkari Empire. But Vexthul had made a terrible mistake. He thought destroying one ship would make humans afraid. He did not know that humans had a saying: "You can kill the messenger, but the message still gets through." Far away on Earth, people were reading Lisa's final message and learning about the Zelkari Empire. And humans, when they learned that peaceful explorers had been murdered, did not get afraid. They got angry. The message from the USS Frontier arrived at Earth 3 days after the ship was destroyed. Lisa Turner's final transmission came through the deep space communication system at exactly 2:47 in the morning, Earth time. The night shift operator at the Houston Space Center almost couldn't believe what he was hearing. General Frank Collins was pulled from his bed by an urgent phone call. He was a big man with white hair who had spent 30 years protecting Earth from dangers that most people never knew about. When he heard the message, he knew that humanity's greatest fear had just become real. "Get me President Santos on the phone," Frank told his assistant, "and wake up everyone on the Defense Council. We have a code red situation." Within an hour, the most powerful people on Earth were sitting in a secret room deep under the Pentagon. President Maria Santos looked tired but alert. She was a small woman with dark hair who had been elected because people trusted her to keep them safe. Now she faced the biggest challenge in human history. "Play the message again," she said quietly. Lisa Turner's voice filled the room one more time. Her words were clear even though her ship was being destroyed around her. "This is Communication Officer Lisa Turner of the USS Frontier. We are under attack by aliens who call themselves the Zelkari Empire. They destroyed our ship because they said we were weak. Their leader, Commander Vexthul, said they would come to Earth and teach all humans a lesson. They think we are not strong enough to fight them. Captain Morrison and the whole crew are gone. Please tell our families we died trying to make peace." The room was silent when the message ended. Everyone knew that everything had changed. "How long do we have?" President Santos asked. General Collins looked at his papers. "We don't know for sure. It could be months or it could be years. Space is big and we don't know how fast their ships can travel." Dr. Helen Park stood up from her chair. She was the head of the Advanced Weapons Research Division, a secret part of the government that most people didn't know existed. She was a thin woman with glasses who looked like a teacher, but she knew more about weapons than almost anyone alive. "Mr. President," Helen said, "I think it's time to tell you about some Projects we've been working on. Projects that were designed for exactly this situation. President Santos looked surprised. What kind of projects? Helen walked to a large screen and pressed some buttons. Pictures of strange weapons appeared. For 20 years we've been preparing for the possibility that we might meet hostile aliens. We called it the just-in-case program. The first picture showed a weapon that looked like a giant cannon. This is Project Hellfire. It shoots metal bars at incredible speed using magnetic fields. The bars move so fast they can punch through almost anything. The next picture showed something that looked like a missile but was different. This is Project Phantom Strike. These missiles can turn invisible to most sensors and can change direction after they're fired. They're almost impossible to stop. The last picture showed the biggest weapon of all. It looked like a space station but was clearly built for war. This is Project Earthshaker. It's a mobile weapons platform that can destroy entire fleets of enemy ships. General Collins smiled for the first time that night. Helen, how many of these weapons do we have? More than the aliens expect, Helen answered. We've been building them for years, but we kept them secret. We stored them in hidden bases around the solar system. President Santos felt a little hope. What else do we have that the aliens don't know about? Admiral Ryan Brooks spoke up from the back of the room. He was a quiet man who commanded the Earth Space Navy. Most people thought the Space Navy only had a few patrol ships and some research vessels. Mr. President, Ryan said, what people see is not all we have. For 15 years we've been building a real space fleet. We disguised our warships as cargo ships, research stations, and mining platforms. The aliens who attacked the frontier saw one of our exploration ships. They have no idea what our military ships can do. He pressed a button on his remote control and new pictures appeared on the screen. These showed large, powerful-looking ships that were clearly built for fighting. We have 150 combat ships hidden throughout the solar system. Each one is armed with weapons the aliens have never seen before, and our crews have been training for alien contact for years. President Santos stood up and walked to the window. Outside she could see the lights of Washington, D.C. Millions of people were sleeping, not knowing that their world was about to change forever. We need to tell the people, she said finally. They have a right to know what's coming. General Collins nodded. But we also need to be smart about it. If we tell them we're preparing for war, people might panic. If we tell them we're defenseless, they definitely will panic. Dr. Park had an idea. What if we tell them the truth but not all of it? We tell them about the attack on the frontier and that we're preparing to defend Earth. But we don't tell them about all our secret weapons. Let the aliens think we're weak, just like they thought about the frontier. President Santos liked this idea. That could work. The aliens will come here expecting to find a helpless planet. Instead, they'll find a fight they're not prepared for. Over the next few hours, they planned how to prepare Earth for war without causing panic. The military would quietly move their hidden ships into position. The weapons factories would start working around the clock. And the people would be told just enough truth to make them ready. Meanwhile, far away in space, Commander Vexthul was preparing his own fleet. He was gathering 200 of the Zelkari Empire's best warships. In his mind, conquering Earth would be easy. The humans had shown him how weak they were when they begged for mercy. Vexthul told his officers, "The humans are like children playing with toys. Their technology is hundreds of years behind ours. We will destroy their space defenses in one day, then land on their planet and make them our slaves. It will be so easy that we can use it as training for our new recruits." His officers laughed and agreed. None of them had ever fought humans before. None of them knew that humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years and had learned lessons that the Zelkari had never imagined. The stage was set for a battle that would change the galaxy forever. The Zelkari thought they were going to crush a weak species. The humans knew they were fighting for their survival. But there was one thing that neither side fully understood yet. The humans weren't just fighting to protect their own world. They were fighting to make sure that what happened to Captain Morrison and his crew would never happen to anyone else again. The universe was about to learn what humans could do when someone hurt their family. 3 months had passed since the USS Frontier was destroyed. Commander Vexthul stood on the bridge of his flagship. the Zelkari warship Dominator. Through the main window, he could see the yellow sun that warmed the human homeworld. Earth looked small and blue, hanging in space like a jewel. "How pathetic," Vexthul said to his second-in-command. "Look at this tiny world. The humans think they can hide here and we won't find them." His fleet was impressive. 200 Zelkari warships moved through space in perfect formation. Each ship was 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel Vexthul had ever seen. Their energy shields glowed with power, and their weapons could destroy a city with one shot. "Commander," his weapons officer reported, "we are detecting some ships near the outer planets, but they look like cargo vessels and mining ships." "Nothing that could threaten us," Vexthul laughed. "Just as I expected. The humans are so primitive they probably use those old ships to carry supplies. Signal the fleet. We will destroy any ship we find, then move to the planet and begin the conquest." But something was wrong. As the Zelkari fleet moved deeper into the solar system, more human ships appeared on their sensors. First 10, then 20, then 50. They were coming from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, from places where the Zelkari hadn't thought to look. "Commander," the sensor officer said, sounding worried, "I count 150 human vessels. They're arranging themselves in battle formation." Vexthul felt his first moment of doubt. "Battle formation, are you sure? Scan those ships again. What kind of weapons do they have?" The answer came back quickly. "Sir, these are not cargo ships. These are warships. And they're not like the ship we destroyed 3 months ago. These are much bigger and they have weapons we don't recognize." On the bridge of the human battleship UES Retribution, Captain Steve Carter watched the alien fleet through his main screen. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent his whole career preparing for this moment. Around him, his crew worked quietly and efficiently. "All ships report ready for battle, Captain," his communication officer reported. "Good," Steve said calmly. "Signal the fleet. Execute Plan Alpha. Let's show these aliens what happens when they murder peaceful explorers." The battle began when the Zelkari fired first, just as they had 3 months ago. Bright energy beams shot across space toward the human ships. But this time, the results were very different. The human ships moved in ways the Zelkari had never seen before. Instead of staying in straight lines like proper warships, they scattered in all directions. Some ships flew toward the sun, using its gravity to increase their speed. Others hid behind planets and asteroids, then appeared where the aliens didn't expect them. "What are they doing?" Vexthul shouted. "Ships don't fight like this. This is chaos." His weapons officer was trying to target the human ships, but they kept moving in patterns that made no sense. "Commander, I can't get a clear shot. They're using the planets as shields and flying through asteroid fields. No sane pilot would take such risks." Lieutenant Colonel Amy Rodriguez was one of those insane pilots. She flew her fighter ship through a field of space rocks, dodging and weaving between boulders the size of mountains. Behind her, 3 Zelkari fighters were trying to follow, but they were too afraid to fly so close to the asteroids. "Come on, you cowards," Amy said into her radio. "Let's see how good you really are." She led the alien fighters deeper into the asteroid field, then suddenly turned her ship and flew straight at them. The Zelkari pilots were so surprised they couldn't react in time. Amy's ship shot past them, firing her weapons as she went. 2 of the alien fighters exploded immediately. All across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships worked together in small groups, surrounding individual Zelkari vessels and attacking from all sides at once. When the aliens tried to respond, the human ships would scatter, then regroup somewhere else. "This is impossible," Vexthul's tactical officer reported. "They're fighting like a swarm of insects instead of proper warships. Our computer can't predict what they'll do next." That was exactly what Captain Carter had planned. "Signal all ships," he commanded. "Begin Phase 2. Show them what our real weapons can do." The human ships had been holding back, using only their basic weapons. Now they unleashed the secret weapons that Dr. Helen Park had spent 20 years developing. The first surprise was the railguns. These weapons shot pieces of metal so fast they could punch through the strongest armor. The Zelkari energy shields, which had protected them for centuries, were useless against solid objects moving at incredible speed. Our shields are failing, Vexthul's engineer reported in panic. These metal projectiles are going right through our defenses. The second surprise was the plasma torpedoes. These weapons looked like missiles, but they could change direction after being fired. They followed the heat from enemy engines, making them almost impossible to avoid. Commander, we've lost 15 ships already, the tactical officer reported. These weapons are unlike anything we've ever faced. But the biggest surprise was still coming. Dr. Park's electronic warfare systems began to work. Suddenly, Zelkari ships found their communications cutting out. Their sensors showed false information. Some ships couldn't tell which direction they were facing. What's happening to our systems? Vexthul demanded. Unknown, sir. It's like something is inside our computers, changing our data. We can't trust any of our instruments. In the middle of all this chaos, something even more disturbing began to happen. The human ships started broadcasting on all radio frequencies. But they weren't sending threats or demands for surrender. Instead, they were telling stories. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Frontier," came a voice from the human ships. He was 42 years old and had 2 children back on Earth. He wanted to meet aliens and learn about the universe. "You murdered him because he asked for peace." Another voice began speaking. "This is Dr. Peter Kane. He spent his whole life studying the stars. He hoped that contact with aliens would help both our species learn and grow together. You killed him because you thought he was weak." One by one, the voices told the stories of the Frontier crew. Lisa Turner, who had dreamed of talking to aliens since she was a little girl. Alex Harper, who believed that all intelligent species could be friends. All the people who had died simply because they offered friendship to strangers. On the Zelkari flagship, the crew listened to these broadcasts and began to feel something they had never experienced before when fighting humans. They began to feel ashamed. Commander, his second-in-command, said quietly, "Maybe we made a mistake. These humans, they came in peace. We killed explorers and scientists, not soldiers." Vexthul's anger flared. They were weak. Weakness must be punished. That is the way of the galaxy. But even as he said the words, Vexthul was beginning to doubt. The human ships around him were not weak. They fought with skill and courage that impressed even him, and their weapons were far more advanced than he had believed possible. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet commander," the communication officer reported. "Put it through," Vexthul ordered. Captain Carter's voice filled the Zelkari bridge. "Commander Vexthul, this is Captain Steve Carter of the Earth Defense Fleet. You murdered innocent people who came to you in peace. You threatened to destroy our world and enslave our people. Now you will learn what humans do to those who hurt our family." The battle raged on, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The Zelkari fleet, which had seemed so powerful when it arrived, was being torn apart by human ships that fought like nothing they had ever seen before. For the first time in 1,000 years, the mighty Zelkari Empire was losing a battle. And they were losing it to the species they had thought was too weak to matter. The battle had been going on for 6 hours. Commander Vexthul looked at his battle screen and felt sick. Of his original 200 ships, only 120 were still fighting. The humans had lost only 30 ships, and their attacks were getting stronger instead of weaker. "Sir, another squadron is requesting permission to retreat," his communication officer reported. "Their shields are down and they're taking heavy damage." Vexthul wanted to say yes, but he knew that retreat would mean the end of his career and possibly his life. The Zelkari Empire did not forgive commanders who lost battles to inferior species. "Tell them to hold position," he ordered. "We are Zelkari. We do not run from weak enemies." But even as he spoke, Vexthul knew the humans were not weak. Their ships appeared from nowhere, struck hard, then disappeared before his forces could respond. It was like fighting ghosts. Commander Sam Bell watched the alien fleet from his stealth ship, the UES Shadow. His vessel was invisible to Zelkari, sensors hidden in the shadow of a large asteroid. Around him, 20 other stealth ships waited for his signal. "All ships, this is Bell," he whispered into his radio. "The aliens are trying to group up near Jupiter. We're going to hit them from behind while Captain Carter attacks from the front. Remember, we've been preparing for this fight our whole lives." Sam's ships had been hiding throughout the solar system for months. Every asteroid field, every moon, every planet had human ships waiting in secret. The Zelkari had walked into a trap that was bigger than they could imagine. Execute attack. Pattern Bravo, Sam ordered. 20 invisible ships suddenly appeared behind the Zelkari formation. Their railguns fired at the same time, sending metal spears through the engines of 6 alien warships. The Zelkari fleet spun around in confusion, trying to find attackers they couldn't see. "Where are they coming from?" Vexthul screamed. "How? Many ships do these humans have?" His sensor officer was working frantically at his controls. "I don't know, sir. Our sensors show empty space, but the attacks are coming from everywhere. It's like the humans can turn invisible." On the other side of the battle, Captain Carter was leading his main fleet in a direct assault on the alien center. But he wasn't, fighting like the Zelkari expected. Instead of staying far away and shooting energy beams, the human ships flew close to their enemies. "All ships, ram speed," Carter commanded. "Show these aliens how humans fight when they're angry." The UES Retribution accelerated toward a Zelkari heavy cruiser. At the last second, Carter's ship fired all its weapons point-blank into the alien vessel, then pulled away. The Zelkari ship exploded in a ball of fire. "These humans are insane," a Zelkari captain reported over their communication system. "They're willing to ram our ships. No civilized species fights like this." But the humans weren't just being reckless. Every move they made was planned and practiced. While the Zelkari had spent centuries fighting against species who used the same tactics, they did. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They knew every trick, every strategy, every way to win a battle. Engineer Bobby Chen was working in the engine room of the UES Liberty when an alien energy beam hit his ship. The lights went out and alarms started ringing everywhere. But Bobby just smiled and kept working. "Don't worry about me," he told his captain over the radio. "These alien weapons can't keep us down. Human ships are built to take damage and keep fighting." He was right. While Zelkari ships needed perfect conditions to operate, human vessels were designed to work even when they were badly damaged. Human engineers had learned to fix things with whatever materials they had. Human pilots could fly ships that should have been impossible to control. The Zelkari fleet was learning this the hard way. Every time they thought they had destroyed a human ship, it would appear again, patched up and ready to fight. The humans just wouldn't give up. "Commander," Vexthul's tactical officer said quietly, "I've been studying the human battle patterns. I think we need to see something." He brought up a display showing human history. Pictures of ancient battles, old wars, and military strategies filled the screen. "Sir, the humans have been fighting wars for their entire recorded history. Look at this. They fought with swords, with guns, with bombs, with everything imaginable. They've developed tactics and strategies that we've never seen before." The display showed human military leaders from throughout history, generals who had won impossible battles, soldiers who had fought against overwhelming odds, strategies that had changed the course of wars. "They don't just fight to win," the officer continued. "They fight to survive. And when they're protecting their home, they become extremely dangerous. We're not fighting soldiers, Commander. We're fighting a species that has turned war into an art form." Vexthul stared at the information in horror. "How long have they been preparing for this?" "According to their records, they've been fighting organized wars for over 3,000 years. They've never stopped learning, never stopped improving their methods. And sir, there's something else." The screen changed to show recent human military exercises. "They've been practicing to fight aliens for 20 years. Everything they're doing to us right now, they've rehearsed hundreds of times." On the human ship UES Vengeance, Major Kate Phillips was leading a boarding party toward a damaged Zelkari cruiser. The alien ship had lost its shields and was drifting helplessly after taking several railgun hits. "Remember, people," Kate told her soldiers, "these aliens think they're superior to us. Let's show them how wrong they are." Kate's team wore special armor that let them survive in space or inside alien ships. They carried weapons designed specifically for fighting unknown enemies. Most importantly, they had trained for this exact situation. The boarding party cut through the Zelkari ship's hull and entered the alien vessel. Inside, they found something interesting. The Zelkari crew was struggling to operate their own ship. The artificial gravity was wrong for humans, but the human soldiers adapted quickly. The air was different, but their suits handled it. The lighting was strange, but they could see just fine. The Zelkari, however, couldn't handle the changes the humans made to their ship. When Kate's team started changing the temperature and gravity to confuse the aliens, the Zelkari soldiers became clumsy and slow. "Surrender your ship," Kate announced in the few Zelkari words her team had learned. "Your empire chose war. Now you face the consequences." Back on the main battlefield, the situation was becoming desperate for the aliens. Commander Vexthul's fleet was down to 90 ships, and more were being destroyed every minute. "Sir, we have to retreat," his second-in-command pleaded. "If we stay here, the entire fleet will be destroyed." Vexthul knew he was right, but he also knew what retreat would mean. "Signal the fleet. All ships, withdraw to the edge of the system. We'll regroup and call for reinforcements." But as the Zelkari ships tried to run away, they discovered another unpleasant surprise. The human ships were faster than expected. Captain Carter's forces chased them past the orbit of Neptune, attacking constantly. "They're following us," Vexthul's pilot reported. "Our ships are faster in a straight line, but they keep catching us when we turn." The humans were using hit-and-run tactics they had learned from centuries of warfare. They would attack, disappear, then attack again from a different direction. The Zelkari ships, built for traditional battles, couldn't handle this kind of fighting. "Commander, we're receiving a message from the homeworld," the communication officer announced. "Emperor Zalthuron wants a report on our progress." Vexthul felt his heart sink. How could he tell his emperor that the mighty Zelkari fleet was being defeated by the species they had called weak? "Tell the emperor that the situation is more complicated than we expected," Vexthul said carefully. "The humans are not what we thought they were." As his damaged fleet limped away from Earth, Vexthul finally understood the terrible mistake he had made. The Zelkari Empire had not attacked a weak species of peaceful explorers. They had declared war on a species that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare. And now, for the first time in their history, the Zelkari were going to learn what it felt like to lose.